If I don't get my motherfucking food stamp next month, it's gonna be war with me and the motherfucking stores. I'm going to Walmart, Target, Sam Plus, whatever. Walking at that bitch with the card.
They all on my phone telling me we ain't gonna get our food stamps November. Let my not come on the 15th. Let my not come on the 15th, and I'm gonna show them why I went to jail twice.
So as you all know, our government is currently in a state of shutdown, and in the latest development, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, aka SNAP, is set to run out of money by November 1st, and the Trump administration has said they will not take any emergency action to renew it. So in other words, that means starting next week, no more EBT, no more SNAP, no more food stamps. All of those programs will be cut off. The money will run dry. And I really just have to say, this government shutdown gets better and better by the day. Does it ever have to end? Okay, let's just keep it going forever. Maybe do a partial resolution to say fund the air traffic controllers and the military. But really, besides that, I mean, you could just keep this going till next year. Heck, I don't care, Democrats. Take it into the midterms and just see how much quality of life actually improves for people in the United States of America. We are literally making America great again, thanks to the Democrats and their own stupidity, where apparently they think it's a smart political strategy to wreak a bunch of havoc and pain on their own voters in order to stop Donald Trump or something like that. But nonetheless, you might be looking at me and saying, well, Vince, aren't food stamps for poor people? Why are you celebrating the fact that the poor people are going to starve? Well, that is, of course, because anyone who lives in this country and has been paying attention for the past several years knows that is not the case. There is the 1960s Democrat caricature of what food stamps are and what they're meant for, and you'll hear all that rhetoric about the hungry families in need. And then there's the reality, where we all see it, all of us who live in this country, that EBT arguably is the single most frauded and taken advantage of system in the entire United States. By the way, it incentivizes poverty in the process, and you frankly see most of the time, right, people are buying what with it? Junk food, they're just abusing it. There's actually a widespread trend now in the hood, for instance, where they actually sell the EBT so that way they can get money for the EBT, and they use that to go buy drugs and other just nonsense. So, and like people receiving their SNAP, actually just because they're frauding the system, again, sell their SNAP to other people so that way they basically just get free money in the process. The whole thing is a grift, okay? And, frankly, what are people so afraid of? Oh, maybe now these people will have to get a job. Maybe they'll have to be upwardly mobile and actually improve their lives instead of just living this permanent existence on SNAP and Section 8 and the taxpayer just having to fund all of it. So with that said, in today's video, we'll tell you about this development. We'll show you some of the reaction from, I guess you could call, I don't know, Welfare America or something like that, as well as apparently, certain people basically just proving our point correct. They're threatening to go on strike. They're threatening to start stealing from the stores and all this garbage, and some more details on all of that. And again, Democrats, first of all, this is completely your fault. Okay, you want to whine about these people. Don't come to us and then say, oh, you guys are making them not have the food stamps. No, you could open the government. But at the same time, you know what? Fine, I'll own that. Yeah, EBT's getting cut off. Yeah, actually, get a job and improve your life and stop frauding the government. Because again, it's not the 1930s, it is not the 1960s. Things work differently in America. The cost of prices, as we'll show you later in a second, is not what it is or not what it was back then. So yes, what is happening is a massive grift, and we'll get into it, guys. First though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is not only the best way to support our work, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And that said, I want to start today's video by, this is all over the internet, and again, it's not just like a isolated phenomenon because you can see it out in the real world. I'm sure all of you guys can attest to this. What food stamps were being spent on in widespread scale in this country, and again, exactly our entire argument that this is not actually feeding genuinely poor people. It is simply being used as free money to commit massive fraud on behalf of people who don't actually need it. And here are just a couple of examples.
Today is food stamp day, as y'all can see. I've been waiting for the 17th to come for so long, y'all. First, I didn't even think I was gonna get them because I had been waiting for the approval. They had not sent me no paper saying like I was approved or denied. When I checked my card at 12 o'clock in the morning, I was happy as fuck. I instantly made me a damn Walmart order. As most of y'all know, I do not have a car, so I have to get everything delivered to my house. I got 60 items for $440. Now, this is not everything that I'm getting, but they, I guess, say that you can't go over 100 items. I gotta do 2 separate orders. This is the first order. Last night was the very last meal that I had to eat. And I tell y'all, I'm about to eat so motherfucking good tonight, y'all don't even understand. I'm about to make a whole motherfucking Chipotle bowl. For the people that got something to say about food stamps, baby, y'all mad because y'all can't get none. That's just that. As most of y'all know, I have 4 kids and they're under 5, so y'all know I'm getting a couple dollars from their ass. For the people that think that they too good to...
Okay, first and foremost, how are you feeding them before if you had 4 kids and suddenly now you're getting the food stamps? It's almost like you didn't need the food stamps. Whatever you're doing for a living, I don't know, maybe you're already living off the government in other ways. But I first of all look at this apartment and I say, you know, it looks pretty nice, doesn't it, guys? I mean, it's renovated. Got like a multi-section couch, new floors. I don't know, maybe it's a Section 8, but it seems like you're actually living pretty decently. So what do you need the food stamps for, right? Were you going to starve without them? No, absolutely not, right? This is our entire point. You were not going to starve without them. You basically just used them to go splurge. And then let's see what she has splurged on, guys. I mean, look at this. Look at this. So
get food stamps. Is y'all cool? Free food? Is y'all cool? This is
and by the way, that's how you hear what she said. That's how she sees it. Free food. It's not because like, oh, she's poor and then she was going to starve. No, it's just free food. And then look at the first thing on the screen. What do we see? Okay. By the way, this is illegal under the new food stamps program, but I'm guessing the video is maybe a little older or somehow she got away with it. Okay. First thing she shows, supposedly starving poor person, right? Doritos, Cheetos, and Pringles. Very nutritious. You know, this is what the kids need, right? This is going to keep the kids full. There's no nutritional value to this, okay? Not only is it junk food, but if your kids were starving and you had a choice to buy any type of food, last thing you want to buy is something with no actual like macronutrients. But okay, let's see. Let's see what she's bought.
All the things that I did get, y'all, this is just for the first order. Now, this shit do not look like it's $440. Shit nowadays is high as fuck. Missing so many freaking items, y'all. I could have sworn that I had got way more than this, but then I had to remind myself like they made me put most of my shit because they said I couldn't do over 100 items. Just know I'm about to be snacking my
over 100 items the moment she got the food stamps. Okay, and then you know, let's look at this. Okay, so okay, I'll give credit, I guess, to this one. You got the steak, the chicken, the meat. All right, you know, that's legitimate food. Okay. Frozen pizza, Hot Pockets. I mean, okay, not the best for you, but fine, right? You can actually eat it as a legitimate meal. But look at the rest of it. Look at the majority of this food. Okay, pancakes, you know, sugary cereal. Okay, fine. You could even still argue, well, that could be considered a meal, even if it's not a very good one for you. Some eggs and all that stuff. But then look at this. The ice cream, okay? You're so poor. You're starving. Oh, yeah, buying ice cream with the food stamps. That was a necessity. The Kool-Aid, right? You mean to tell me you were going to starve without the Kool-Aid and the Propel? Jeez, it's like half this thing is junk food and then the soda at the end, right? And guys, the examples of this go on and on. That's why I'm saying you look at, again, the reality of EBT and it's like, you know, it's stuff like this right here.
You want to know why I'm not having an aneurysm over people losing their food stamps on November 1st? Here's why.
Come grocery shop with us. Go by faster. One of you.
You've still yet to pick out a single nutritious piece of food. I mean, my gosh.
This what I pick, and this what he picked.
Dear, oh wow, $386.
How about this instead? If you're on food stamps, you get a pre-selected box of meat, bread, rice, food staples, and fruits and vegetables. No more handing you a debit card filled with other people's cash for you to go load up on Oreos. The goal here is to keep you from starving because taxpayers do not need to bankroll your junk food pantry or your health problems.
I'm irritated. I woke up and now my EBT cannot purchase me no soda, no candy, no chip, no ice cream, no dessert, no nothing. And this not even really about me because I'm fortunate enough that if push comes to shove, I don't have to use that EBT. It's not even in my name. It's not my EBT part.
Okay, hold on a minute. Did you guys notice that? She says she's fortunate enough to not be in a position where she has to use EBT, right? If she's not able to use the EBT, she can live without it. Okay. So then why is she on EBT? I was told this is for genuinely poor people. That's what the Democrats said, right? Genuinely poor people, they're going to go starving without it. You have the EBT recipient saying, nope, I'll be just fine. As a matter of fact, it's not even my EBT card. Apparently, she's borrowing it from someone else, which I'd have to imagine is probably massive fraud going on there, right? Probably that person applied for SNAP, doesn't need it, just used it, sold it to her. Like I said, this is a very common thing that actually goes on. And frankly, I think it's one of many reasons why the entire program should be shut down. And I absolutely agree with the girl from Media Research Center on this, which is that you should, why exactly? What was the government even thinking? Giving out a free debit card to basically go spend on junk food, right? I think that's question number one I have about EBT. If we already have a bunch of food banks everywhere in this country, and most of those food banks give out things that are legitimately necessary. And, you know, back in the day, we used to have this thing called government cheese. That's where the saying comes from, right? And at least you can actually eat cheese and it's kind of made of something, right? It's not just fake processed empty calories. Then why do you also need the EBT, right? If they're genuinely starving, they can go to a food bank. But they don't want to go to food bank because they're not even genuinely starving. They're just like, oh, EBT, free credit card to basically just buy whatever I want with it, right? And you might try to make the upward mobility argument that, hey, you know, if people don't have to spend as much money on groceries, then maybe they'll move up in life because then they'll have more money to invest and get an education and these other things. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, we know that's not happening. As a matter of fact, EBT, Section 8, and many programs like it incentivize people to stay in poverty. Why? Because if you basically make like over, I don't know the exact limit depending on the person, but $40,000, or if you get married and you have a dual income, a lot of that stuff, then your government benefits actively get cut off. So what incentive do you have to try to even get a job or try to move up in your job or do a good job, right? What incentive do you have to move forward in life? Because again, you cross that threshold, you get married and actually create a stable household for your children, you're going to lose the benefits. So the whole incentive structure is completely backwards, broken. It makes no sense. And last point I'd like to make to people, especially the Democrats, about, again, the myth of EBT. It's so genuinely necessary. To which I again say, okay, then go to a food bank. What's the problem with that? But is further the way in which the 1960s cliche no longer exists because the math just doesn't back that up, right? Because this is basically what the entire Democrat Party does these days. They like to cosplay like they're in the 1960s or something. But the actual truth, and again, the reason why there's not really much of a need for EBT in the United States of America today is that compared to the 60s when the Great Society was first introduced, the relative cost of food, and this is factoring in inflation and median salary, has actually gone down significantly from what it used to be. Now, that's not true of every facet of our society, right? Things like the affordability of housing, right? Rent, mortgages, home prices. Yes, those things have exploded. And those things have not kept pace with inflation and median salary. That's why, for instance, Gen Z struggles to buy a home even if they do have a good job or they're even making good money because, yeah, that part of the economy has gotten worse, for sure. But when it comes to things, not to sound like a boomer, but when it comes to things like food, actually, compared to relative salary, it's gotten cheaper over time. As you can see, in the 1960s, the relative cost of groceries used to be about 13.7% of the average personal income. So if you were working, you were spending 13% of your money on groceries. By 2000, this number fell to only 5.7% of your disposable income. Even by 2019, pre-pandemic, it got to 5.2%. And even the most recent data, this is very interesting, right? Given post-COVID inflation and everything we see, still by 2024, only about 4.9% of relative income. In other words, food is no longer expensive really in America to the point where, you know, people are genuinely starving. They actually can't afford it even if they're working hard. No, that's just simply not true. You work a job, you work minimum wage, you might have problems, for instance, paying for rent or paying for other aspects, maybe car insurance, other parts of your lives. I mean, that's a real crisis. But the food, no, indeed, is not one of them. So don't let them bring you these cliches. Oh, it's like, you know, we still live in the Great Depression. No, that's just simply not true. And now we are, of course, getting the reporting from CBS here that apparently 1 in 8 Americans are on food stamps, right? And then they're about to melt down about the supplemental nutrition assistance program being cut off. That's 43 million people. But again, okay, is this not the most obvious proof of fraud that you've ever seen? Because I just broke down the numbers for you, right? Based on relative salary and the way money and prices have changed, actually, basically nobody in America should be unable to afford food these days. Like, if like in terms of like they genuinely don't have the money. Not that it's constricting the budget, but they genuinely don't have the money. But 43 million people are on food stamps. What do you think the relative rate of fraud and abuse is in that program? I don't know, but let's take a listen, okay, to apparently now what's happening starting November 1st.
Trump administration says it will not use emergency funds to pay for federal food benefits with a fast approaching deadline. CBS's Christina Fan is in New York with details on that. Christina.
Well, Jericho, 1 in 8 Americans rely on SNAP benefits, and tonight there is mounting worry for them. They might not be able to afford food with money running out 1 week from today.
I think people are starting to panic.
Food banks around the country are flashing warning signs.
We've been having about 7 to 10 new people a day this week.
Look at that. That was full this morning.
The pantry at Calvary Episcopal Church in Kentucky ran out of food for the first time in its 43-year history.
We feel like this is
Okay, but again, notice how misleading this is. So they just started with a food bank saying it's running out of money. If there's food banks, why do you need EBT, right? Do you understand already? You have to start asking those questions because they don't really make sense.
The tip of the iceberg.
Members of the California National Guard are now deployed to help food banks in the state. In Massachusetts, 16% of residents rely on SNAP benefits, which provide an average of $187 a month, or about $6 a day. Democratic Governor Maura Healey holds President Trump responsible.
You know, leadership is a choice. And sadly, President Trump has chosen to take away food from people all around this country.
You guys literally shut down the government. You are the entire cause of the government shutdown. They were going to do the continuing resolution that you voted for before, and you see literally the strategy. They're the ones starving their own voters, quote unquote starving them, and then simultaneously turning around and saying, see, Donald Trump did this. Well, you know. Okay.
At Air Force One, President Trump told reporters he's not to blame.
Well, I'm going to let some other people talk to you. I'll have a comment on that later, but the Democrats are stopping it.
The sudden loss in federal food aid will ripple beyond homes into stores and businesses. Every dollar in SNAP benefits generates $1.54 in economic activity.
Quite a bit of our sales come from EBT recipients. Right now, it's making up about 10 to 15% of our total sales a month.
Notice how they don't go to a normal chain grocery store and ask them that question, because the truth of the matter actually is that for the normal American starting November 1st, I think shopping is going to be a truly pleasant experience. Now, this shouldn't surprise you, but we of course now have to talk about the reaction from, I guess you could say, Democrat voters, welfare America. I don't know what the politically correct term is here. But now that SNAP is being cut off as of November 1st, a lot of people on TikTok are now saying they're going to start stealing from the grocery store as a result. While, of course, they put on things like rings and, fake acrylic nails, but surely they were going to starve without the SNAP, right? And look, this behavior shouldn't surprise you, but here's now that reaction. They're going to start shoplifting, apparently. They're actually pushing for like this widespread, hey, November 3rd, let's all just go steal stuff. Yeah.
Trump cutting off food stamps right before Thanksgiving, bad and all, but my people ran out of stores. With the cart full, I bet it's going to be some turkey on my plate. Ham, mashed potatoes, greens, dressing. It's going to all be there. Don't worry about it.
my people. I wish we stopped crying about this motherfucking BT card. At the end of the day, they trying to see is we going to stick together. And we are going to stick together. November 3rd at 6:30, we're going to Walmart. We're going to Walmart. And at 7:30, we're going to walk out of Walmart with our buggies, okay? The thing is, they can catch everybody. You feel me? All you got to do is run, Forrest, run, okay? We have to stick together.
You know, it really is comical how the liberals try to tell the conservatives in this country that welfare, EBT, Medicaid, all these programs you're railing against, your stereotypes about the people receiving them are not true. Okay, they're hurtful, they're damaging, they're racist even. No, these are like genuinely poor people who need our help and they're gonna die without and all that stuff. And then you go on the internet or you go in real life and just look around you. I mean, why do they take EBT at the liquor store in 7-Eleven, for instance? I think you know the answer to that, right? No, it's happening exactly in America, as the conservatives are describing, right? Everything we're saying about a lot of the people receiving EBT are like completely 100% true. As usual, we are correct about everything, you know? And I want to, if you still don't believe me, I want to show you some more reactions of how EBT people are feeling as a result of this. Here's one guy pointing out that as a result of no food stamps, people will not have money to smoke weed and do drugs anymore. To which I say, oh no, the horror of that, right? So you're saying cutting off EBT is actually a good thing for the United States of America. Yeah, go figure. Take a listen to this.
Bro is waiting in the dispensary parking lot, asking people if they have any spare roaches. I don't think y'all understand. The crash out levels is about to go through the roof. No food stamps equals no to less weed money. Like, y'all about to have people out here hangry and sober. That's a diabolical combination. Because the food money got to come out of some budget, and that's the first one it usually comes from. All I'm saying is just be nicer to people in these coming days, because that blunt and those snacks may have been the only thing stopping your coworker from putting you first in line for a meet and greet with God Almighty.
Oh no, they're going to be sober, the horror of that. But let's actually break down that argument, right? Apparently, what he's trying to say is that Black Americans need to be subdued by like free food and constantly being on drugs and alcohol in order to not commit as much violence against each other. What? Right? But that's what they're claiming is going to happen, right? You're going to take away our ability to be grifting off the government, and suddenly a bunch of people are going to be committing violence and they're going to be stealing and all this stuff. And it's like, apparently this is an argument, though, according to them, to just keep the EBT going, right? Not have a serious conversation about, okay, maybe there's a systemic problem here. Maybe there's something deep-rooted that we need to fix. No, just keep, apparently, the EBT, according to them, so that way they have the weed money and so that way they're not shooting each other. As if the shooting rates are not already high. I don't know. One could argue long term, maybe, you know, initially it's going to be hard on people, but staying sober and getting a job, I'm sure long term would probably have actual positive consequences. But just last example I want to talk about. Here's another individual saying that she will no longer be able to afford, I'm not even making this up, steak and lobster. Okay, steak and lobster because SNAP's being cut off. Take a listen.
Millions of Black people are going to starve to death.
And with food stamps getting cut off next month, like I don't have a kid that eats like a grown man. I eat like a grown man. We like steak and lobster.
No, you like food.
Yeah, we like food. We like steak and lobster.
You like steak and lobster, so let's get this correct. Americans who actually work and actually have jobs are paying taxes being told they're used to feed hungry, starving children. And in reality, it's all going to an unemployed, lazy person who is grifting off the government to buy steak and lobster, okay? Most of you who are working full-time jobs probably cannot afford to eat steak and lobster on a regular basis. You know why? Because that person right there is doing it on your behalf. Yeah, again, this program is rotten to the core. Cut it off entirely. And by the way, to people like that, you know, have you tried getting a job? Have you considered that proposition? No, we need our steak and lobster. Okay, go work for it. That's the thing, is that as much as people are going to complain about this, I would argue it would be a positive thing for society on both ends, right? Because not only are the normal, already working people not going to have to spend their tax dollars on this crap, and like I said, shopping for groceries now will be probably a more pleasant experience, but beyond that point, okay, even for the people currently on the EBT, this is a real situation of you don't understand it yet, but we're trying to help you. And regardless of whether the government reopens, I'd like to further point out, as a result of Big Beautiful Bill and a lot of the Trump administration's DOGE reforms and all that stuff, regardless, coming November 1st, even when EBTs eventually turn back on, you will now be required, if you're an able-bodied person, 18 to 65, to work at least 80 hours a month in order to collect benefits. So I want you to keep in mind, 80 hours a month. That is only 2 full time weeks worth of work in the month. But guess what? People were already not doing that. And people are now in shock because this is now going to be a requirement.
Okay, y'all. Y'all gonna want to hear this. Because this is coming November 1st. If you are receiving SNAP EBT, by November 1st, you're gonna have to start working 80 hours a month just for you to collect your food stamps. So all that staying home, chilling, hanging out, it's time to wrap that shit up.
Smoking weed.
Because now you gotta go to work. Okay? And this is not for the ones that are handicapped, that can't work at all. This is for those young parents that are able to work, but they decide to stay home, be lazy, and collect food stamps and cash. Right? The taxpayers are paying your rent and shit. But this is what's coming November 1st. Now, I don't know, is it because of the shutdown of the government? But I've been telling you guys that this is coming for a very long time.
Well, I gotta say, doing this around Halloween is perfectly timed because it is quite scary. They're gonna have to get a job. Ooh, that's how you startle. Okay, the Halloween surprise for one of these people is simply just put a job application in front of them. Ooh, no, you can't tell I'm scared of that, right? But, as I said, here you go. The Democrats, as I've been saying, have basically handed conservatives one of the greatest gifts ever through this government shutdown, because they're giving us now this free axe to just chop down parts of the federal government in this country that we don't like. And I said this about the federal workers for a long time. I told them, well, you're going to shut down the government to stop Trump from shutting down the government. With Doge and all that, well, guess what you're going to do? You're going to give Trump a free rein to furlough, lay off, and eventually mass fire, as he's done, by the way, a bunch of the federal workforce. So how are you going to save them by shutting down the government? But it's even true on this EBT question as well, right? You're going to talk about the government benefits. Well, guess what? They can cut those off as well because of the shutdown. And the longer you keep this going, the more eventually, I'm sure some of these people are just going to have to move on and find jobs. And then who knows in a generation if they're still kind of, say, like a loyal Democrat voter base eventually. Because if you get weaned off of it, right, if you eventually get used to just, oh, I have to work a job. Wait a minute, I have more money now. I actually can afford a house. I actually feel good about myself because I'm, I actually did something in my life. Oh, wait a minute, right? Once that government dependency eventually gets cut off, which at first, yes, is going to be brutal. It's going to be hard on people, right? It's like leaving the house, leaving your mother's womb for the first time or whatever. That's why the baby starts crying initially the moment they get out. But, eventually, right? Once you get used to it, you're like, oh, that was a hard change, but now my life is better. Yeah, I don't know if Democrats want to be in that position. I'm just warning you guys. So, you can either reopen the government right now or shoot, let's just do this for a year and then, ooh, some people are going to get jobs. Because they'll have to, and then wait a minute. Oh. All right, with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.